We've talked a lot on the YouTube channel about the Uncharted franchise and the directions that we would maybe like to see Naughty Dog go in the future with this franchise if it is at some point or another confirmed that this franchise is going to continue. And I think, guys, that I'm not alone when I say I really want to see a continuation of the Uncharted franchise. Sure, the first 4 games in this franchise were absolutely incredible. Some of the best experiences I've ever had from playing from, just a perspective of really just from a gameplay perspective to the mechanics to those really intense moments, guys, throughout the course of the journey that was the Uncharted franchise. Now, up to this point, guys, we've had 4 games, and then you've also had the Lost Legacy, which I believe is more so a spin-off, but it's technically, of course, got the Uncharted name and such. But with that, I want to talk about Uncharted 5. I want to talk about everything that we want out of this game, even though it has not been confirmed, but there's been a lot of rumblings and speculation that there would be, at some point or another, a continuation of Uncharted. And of course, guys, we know that Naughty Dog, the ones, of course, who've created the Uncharted franchise, are currently working on The Last of Us as a franchise. The Last of Us Part 2 just came out. So I would assume that they're mainly working and focusing on The Last of Us Part 2. Maybe they'll have a team start working on initial concepts for Uncharted 5. Maybe they'll have another team working on, The Last of Us Part 3. It's hard to say really the direction that Naughty Dog is thinking of going. But with that, everything that we want, guys, out of Uncharted 5, and when I say we, I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts and opinions here, which some of you may agree, some of you may disagree. I would love to hear your thoughts, though, in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So, guys, I think with Uncharted 5, I think one of the big things that I would really like to see happen is Nathan Drake passing the torch onto another character that begins to helm the franchise forward. And look, it's going to be scary. It's going to be a lot of, moments where we're kind of concerned, with Nathan Drake not being the forefront of the franchise anymore. But I think it's important because we had Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, which in my opinion was the end of Nathan Drake as far as his, treasure hunting and things of that nature. However, I think there's definitely a role for him in the future, that being like a side character, similar to like in the Gears of War franchise where Marcus Phoenix passes the torch on to JD Phoenix, his son, and Marcus is still in the fray. He's still in the game. He's just a side character. I think we can see something similar like that here in Uncharted. And obviously, I think it's going to be really important, who the torch is passed to. Who do we become, the playable characters and such. We saw in the Lost Legacy, guys, some new characters coming into the fray that were playable characters that we could play as. And so I think having a new character or characters that we're able to play as, that real, that good send-off to Nathan Drake, a kudos to Nathan Drake, but it's time to move forward with some new characters. Now, who knows, guys? Maybe Naughty Dog, they want to continue with Nathan Drake. Maybe he gets called back for whatever reason, kind of like Indiana Jones or something. But I think that it would be really cool to see him officially pass the torch onto a new character, and that character is the one that leads us into the next generation of these video games. And so that leads me to the next thing, which for me, guys, the world of Uncharted is a really special one. We've seen all different places and explored different places along the journey. I would really like to see Uncharted 5, though, take the direction of even expanding that even more, to even like a more open world aspect of this world, a place that we're able to explore in a major way. I think would be really cool. And there's not much exploration, guys, in the Uncharted games. There's more so just, when we look at it, it's a lot of, pretty linear experience, which I'm okay with. I've really enjoyed it up to this point. But now that you would be getting to Uncharted 5, I think it's time that you start evolving certain things in certain aspects, at least trying it out, even if it was some semi-open world elements where we were able to explore more, have more side missions and things of that nature that could really continue building upon the legacy and lore that they start with the first 4 games. And I think that could be really important moving into Uncharted 5. And then that also leads me, guys, alluding to obviously having a new character that's at the forefront, but I also think having new characters, new enemies, new environments are going to be really important as well. Like I said about Uncharted, what makes it so special is a lot of the places and the action that really takes place within those places that you are, experiencing, and whatever it might be, you're trying to, break into a fortress, or you're trying to go into some underground cave or whatever it might be. I think there's always opportunity to continue evolving those things with the series and the franchise moving forward. And we've seen Naughty Dog do some incredible things with the Uncharted games as far as location is concerned, location design. Imagine having more of that in Uncharted 5, but also having it as a semi or full open world. It could be something really special. So even though Naughty Dog does linear games very well, similar to like, even The Last of Us Part 2, I felt like The Last of Us Part 2 had some exploration opportunities in it though, and that's why I think seeing what it was like in The Last of Us Part 2, it definitely worked for me. I would love to see it work in Uncharted as well. And so also new enemies. Having some new enemies that we're going up against, guys, would be really interesting, I think, in Uncharted 5. New bosses, or just all in all, more so than anything, having, whether it's a corporation you're going up against or a clan, a group, whatever it is, I think that having some similarities is going to be really important to Uncharted 5, but also having those differences I think is going to be really important when we're talking about moving into the next generation of this franchise. And that leads me to the next thing, guys, which I think is something that, off topic from the campaign perspective, is the multiplayer elements. I really want to see Uncharted, because I felt like with the multiplayer that we've seen up to this point in the Uncharted franchise, I really felt that there was something there that I thought it was something that not a lot of people focused much on, but multiplayer in Uncharted, I think it definitely went hand in hand, and I want to see it continue moving into Uncharted 5, but even expanded upon even more so. I think there's so much that Naughty Dog could do here with, Uncharted from a multiplayer perspective, as far as from game modes to having elements where it's PvE, where you're going up against, you're having like co-op missions and such, and even having where you're going up against other players in a PvP element. So what I'm getting at is I think there's a ton of opportunity here for Naughty Dog to really capitalize on the multiplayer aspect, but really take it, another step further. I mean, we see obviously with The Last of Us, they did factions, which I feel was a pretty awesome game mode, honestly. And now they're bringing it back with The Last of Us Part 2. And I've stated that I want to see more modes outside of factions, because at the end of the day, it kind of feels to me that Naughty Dog will focus on the multiplayer until their next new game comes out, and then they kind of stop really supporting the service from one game to the next. And I don't really like that aspect. I would much rather they try to build something here, whether it's The Last of Us Online or Uncharted Online, kind of like Red Dead Online or GTA Online, where it's kind of a games as a service almost, but there's continuous content that goes into the multiplayer aspect of it. I think it could be something really special. And that leads me, guys, into the next thing. Kind of on that same topic, I feel that one thing with Uncharted that's so cool is the collectibles, is some of like the things that you can find within that world in the campaign. Well, it'd be really cool to have a lot of those things that you're able to access and earn within the multiplayer aspects, having, new ranks, new titles, emblems, things of that nature that you can show off to your friends and such from putting in so much time into the game. I think it would be a great thing for Uncharted 5 moving into this title. It would get you to come back to the game after playing the campaign, to play co-op modes, to play multiplayer, whatever it might be. Those are just more and more ways that you're able to kind of hone in on what it is you're trying to achieve in your experience in Uncharted 5. And that leads me, guys, to one of the last things. I mean, obviously we can go on and on about how we want new weapons, we want, new vehicles to be able to be at our disposal, and just all types of different things that we could bring up, which I think would be awesome. But I also want to see free-to-play elements to Uncharted 5. And like I alluded to, when we talk about the multiplayer, one of the big things about multiplayer experiences in games as a whole is that it brings people back. After they're done playing the campaign or the story mode, the co-op modes, whatever it might be, multiplayer is the one thing that really brings people back, unless it's a poorly, serviced, title or multiplayer experience. Most likely people are going to come back over and over again to play it, and especially if it's put together well, and I think Naughty Dog does a really good job with that. So Having free to play, I stated this about The Last of Us Part 2 with factions, I'll say it for Uncharted 5. Having free to play elements like multiplayer could really take these games to even another level. In my personal opinion, it would bring more eyeballs to the game. It would bring, more and more people would at least be trying it out just to see what it's all about. And they could really build something special from there, in my personal opinion. And so I don't know if that's something that they would do. I mean, sure, they would probably add microtransactions to make sure that they're making something out of making the free service that is multiplayer. But having free-to-play elements could be really special moving into the next, Uncharted games, in my personal opinion. Whether that's the campaign, the co-op, or, multiplayer experiences, it makes most sense to me multiplayer, but who knows? We'll have to kind of wait and see. And like I said, guys, I'd of course want to see multiple game modes in the multiplayer elements of Uncharted 5. I would love to see a full arsenal of a number of different game modes that you're able to play with your friends or against just other people. I think it'd be something really cool. But let me know, guys. What do you guys want to see in Uncharted 5? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let's have a real conversation about it. And for more Uncharted 5 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.